Okay, let's go to the intro.
You've tuned in to COVID Marketing with Brent Kobayashi and Arthur Tutt, the show to support small business not just to survive.
That's right, we are live with COVID Marketing episode number 62. So we're week daily at 11:11 Eastern Standard Time. For those of you that are joining in new to watch this fine show, if you have questions on marketing and business or whatever, let us know in the comments. That's a bit of a tongue twister for me, at least today. I am Brent Kobayashi, president of Kobayashi Zeitguys, a marketing agency here in Toronto, Canada. And with me is Mr. Arthur Tutt, marketing specialist of the KZ.
Morning.
Yeah, good morning. So if you like what you see, share this show with your friends, click subscribe. If you're listening to it on a podcast, which we're not there yet, but we might be there because you might be listening to this on a podcast. So
in the future,
give us a rating, 5-star, 1-star, don't care, please. Just give us your feedback. So, Arthur,
Brent.
Shades off. Today we are kicking off a new series. What are we going to be talking about?
We're talking about some local SEO.
Which is?
It's the other side of SEO where we're talking about Google My Business, where it's really focused on local searches.
Yeah. Now, what I love about local SEO, so just to give people a little bit of context, people think of SEO quite often. They don't think of local SEO, and they don't realize that Google actually has two separate SEOs. They kind of
algorithms.
Yeah, they're actually different algorithms. And so I'm just going to give them a brief overview, and then you tell me if I nailed it. Okay, Arthur?
You nailed it.
Okay, already. Right, because you're listening to this. Okay, yep, okay, something like that. All right, so here it is. When you are searching for something general, like, how do I do something? Quite often, Google says, okay, let me serve up some information. And that's the SEO that you're probably most familiar with, and that's the SEO everybody says gun for. Local SEO is slightly different. Local SEO is a little bit more about when you search for something and Google says, aha, you are probably looking for a local service or a local provider or a local something. Probably. So think Toronto lawyer probably means you're looking for a Toronto lawyer. And what it does is instead of doing the general broad, what out of all the billion pages on the internet do I think you're interested in, Google actually says, okay, in your specific area, where you are geographically, I can tell from your phone, from your laptop, the IP address, all that kind of stuff. I can tell that you're on the Danforth in Toronto, Canada. And therefore, who in your area do we think would be the best person to show to you? And that usually often shows up in a map. So quite often you'll get an ad, and then you'll get a map of people. Sometimes there's ads in the maps as well, but those are the local people. And the search engine optimization for this, and this is such often low-hanging fruit, especially for geographically local businesses, which can be nationwide, just they have geographical local presences, to find out, to actually get traffic, to get people looking for you, because there's a lot of intention going as far as local SEO, because Google wants to serve up things that people want to buy. They want to buy your service. They want to get to you. I'm looking for a car dealer. Probably you're looking at a car dealer local. You don't want a car dealer in Austin, Texas, because that's not going to help you. So the SEO that car dealer is going to do doesn't apply to you. So it actually opens up. Think of it as, everybody thinks of Google as really hard to compete for those top 10 slots. And there's a way of thinking about that we'll get into another show. But think about it as suddenly you're only really competing for people in your area for this spot. And the real estate for SEO suddenly just like blossoms. It's all there. And quite often, it's easy pickings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. How was that?
Nailed it. Nailed it.
See, well, I mean, you already told me I nailed it, so.
But I was going to say, I've seen I've seen examples from clients, and just to note, so the Google My Business Google Maps listing is a free business listing, right? But I've seen examples from clients where a third of their revenue came from people clicking on their Google My Business listing.
Yeah.
And that's how powerful it can be.
Yeah. It is a real, I mean, it's a game that a lot of people understand and a lot of people get, but I don't, and some people are really playing it. So if you see anybody who's really working the Google reviews, they understand how important this is. They may not understand it in terms of local SEO, just that they think reviews is good, but that's part of it. So.
And so we're going to get a little bit more into some of the specifics in a bit, but I thought it'd be good just to kind of open people's minds to what's possible here. And I just have some statistics that I wanted to share, right? So first of all, 78% of location-oriented searches are going to lead to an offline conversion, as in somebody actually going to the store and making a purchase, right? On top of that,
there's so much intention with these searches. That's the whole point. Okay, continue.
46% of all Google searches feature a local intent, and 28% of searches that include local intent will result in a purchase. And the example that I have just to illustrate this, right, is like if you go to Google and you do a search for coffee shops in my neighborhood, there's a pretty good chance you're going to buy a coffee.
Yeah. I mean, it goes, I want appliance repair. It's not even in my neighborhood. You type in coffee shops, Google is going to say, I think you want coffee shops in your neighborhood. And they're going to do, so that's where the location intent is high. And then that's where there's a really strong correlation, causation, I'd almost say, but correlation is going to result in an actual purchase.
Sure. Another way to look at it, though, is maybe you're going to explore a new part of town. So maybe there's a new neighborhood that you're going to, right? So you could say, I want to find coffee shops in X neighborhood, right?
Yep.
But again, the whole idea is you are looking for a coffee shop, and there's a pretty good chance that you're going to actually go and buy a coffee.
Yep. Okay. So how do we tackle this?
Okay. So I thought it would be good to let's start with. I'll just do a quick screen share here, just to show an example to people of what we are talking about.
The wonderful thing about this one is this is usually not so much research-based, but it's like immediate. People are actually looking to act on something. So there's not just intent, but there's an immediacy to this sort of thing. So depending on the type of business, this needs to be part of your game. Totally needs to be part of it.
And so as an example here, I thought I'd start with Toronto Marketing Agency, just to use us as a bit of an example here. And there is some good news at the end of the story. But like what Brent was saying before, the first results that are going to come up, these are the Google ads that come up on the search. Then below that, you've got the map and what they call the map pack, or the snack pack, sometimes also referred to. Now, just to blow our own horn here, Kobayashi Zeitguys is coming up #1 on the list here.
So that's actually pretty good, because you are searching for this not from our location, which is where I'm at. You're searching it actually a little bit south in the beach.
That's right. From my home, which isn't too far from the office, but I'm not at the office right now.
Right. Interestingly enough, look at Exposure Social. Look how far away they are. They are doing a fantastic job of local SEO, because they are a good distance away. I'm sure there's a lot of marketing agencies between us and them, and yet they're coming up high on this list.
And so there's a few things that I want to highlight here, just in terms of importance. Something to keep in mind in terms of why the local SEO is so important is that this map with this snack pack, this comes up on top of all of the 10 Google, like the regular Google organic listings, right? This is up on top. And Brent, what you were saying before is people really fight it out for those top 10 positions in Google organic. Well, keep in mind with the local SEO, there are 3 positions here, right? Yeah. So something that's really important is that the difference between being position 4 and being position 3 is whether or not you show up at all.
Cool. And go down a little bit to these regular SEO results, the organic SEO, the one that everybody thinks of when they want. Look at this, upcity.com, clutch.co, clutch.co. digital agency network. So the best digital, so all of those things, their whole business is getting inbound organic leads from it. That's all their business is. So they're not just a marketing agency and they've got this thing that they think it would be good for us to get leads. Their only reason for existing is traffic, either through ad revenues or making us pay to get to there. So they're playing the hardcore SEO game that we're talking about. And so for us to rank against them, guess how big the competition of that is? It's a heck of a lot bigger than trying to rank in this general geographic area.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, if we rank in this general geographic area, we're going to be pretty good. And look how far you can get with that game. Like exposure social, I bet you if we were to look at their organic listing, it's going to be further down. Maybe not. Maybe they've done a lot of work there as well, but they certainly didn't reach the top 5 that we just saw there.
Yep. On that point, that brings us to yeah. So again, I really want to highlight here the importance of, if you're going to play the Google Maps game, got to be in the top 3 to be visible, and that's it. And that it's worth fighting for that position because of how prominent Google makes it.
Yeah. So the first thing you do is get Google My Business. So with Google My Business, you need a location. So sorry, it's a local SEO. And so just Google My Business and go through the process to get it if you don't already have it. I think it's google.com/business or business.google.com. I think either of those work.
Yeah, I'll just share this again. So one thing you can do is you can do a Google search for Google My Business, or like you're saying, it's google.com/business.
Yep.
And something to keep in mind too is it's possible for anybody to create a business listing. So what a lot of business owners don't actually know is that it's possible somebody else has already created a business listing on your behalf and you have to claim it.
Yes. So what happens, or there's a few ways this might happen, but one thing that happens is Google will automatically create a business listing for you if you've got like a Yellow Pages or some other thing that they say, there is a business here. And so it will already exist. People can actually leave reviews on it, even if you have no idea what's going on there. And so
it could also contain completely wrong information, which is why you need to claim it and update it.
And what will happen is people will actually correct the information, like, oh no, it's actually closed. These are the hours, all this kind of stuff, right? So stuff can kind of happen. So 100%, you need to claim your business listing. If you haven't already, it probably exists. It's out there. It's doing something. It actually might be doing okay for you, but you're not controlling it. And so claim your business listing. By that, they go through a few verification techniques. There's a little claim your business button on it. If you search for your own business and you find the sort of thing appears on the right side, then you can go through that process and actually claim the business. Or if you're not sure, just Google, how do I claim my business? Once you've claimed your business, then it allows you to they give you a whole bunch of tools like, how to see and connect with your customers, what kind of traffic your Google My Business listing is getting. You can post updates to your business profile, which is one of the ways. You can post pictures and blog posts essentially and articles, which will actually enhance your listing. You can reply back to people who leave you reviews and see kind of like how people are interacting with your business. Did a certain number of people look for your phone number? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I get a sense of where my phone calls are coming in, or at least some of them.
And on that note, something that is really important to keep in mind with Google My Business, something called, the acronym is NAP, but name, address, and phone number.
Yes. And so your name, your address, and your phone number, 3 very, very important things for local SEO, because
you need to keep them consistent across all sources.
Yeah.
Right. So Google is always trying to source how trustworthy is this information. And so the more places, so if you have a Google My Business listing and you have a LinkedIn page and you have a Facebook page and you're in the Yellow Pages and you're in Yelp, and in all of those locations, you have the same name listed, the same address listed, and the same phone number listed, Google is going to say, oh, this looks like it's real.
Yeah. Now, to give you really clear context on this, think of name, address, phone, they call it a citation, as kind of equivalent to an inbound link for regular organic SEO. So an inbound link for regular organic SEO, say you got an inbound link from the Toronto Star, and Google's like, wow, that's very important. Or you got an inbound link from, a blog TO about the top 10 marketing agencies in Toronto for us. Google will say that has a certain amount of authority that talks about you being a marketing agency in Toronto, and therefore we're going to give you a little bit more points to come up nearer the top when somebody types those words in. Name, address, phone number is kind of similar. So if you have them in a bunch of different directories, and they'll actually start boosting your local ranking up, it'll give you a little bit more points. But that thing about it has to be consistent is super important. So to give you an example, if you are, like, we're 2906 Danforth Avenue, which is very straightforward, but if we have in some cases 2906 Danforth Ave, Danforth Avenue, if we had a suite number like 2906 Suite 201, if we were like 2906-201 or 201, there's different ways you can put that in. All those things are slightly different, and they all might confuse the algorithm to think, well, that might not be really for them. Now, the algorithm's always getting smarter, so I actually believe this isn't as critical as it was at one point, but with this sort of thing, it's a thing to do. Make sure everything's very consistent.
So the other thing I just want to touch on briefly is, in terms of Google My Business, there's kind of two ways that somebody could find it. One is through a regular Google search, and then sometimes the map shows up. Mm-hmm. But the other way is directly in the Google Maps app itself. And I think it's just important to, as a quick reminder, because it's a little bit confusing, but basically when you create a Google My Business account, what you were doing is you were putting your business on Google Maps. So they're not two separate things. It's the same thing.
When you're creating a Google My Business account, you're putting your business on the map. Okay, this is how you know that you should have a Google My Business, or you should figure out how to get a Google My Business listing, is search for search the way you would think a client would search for you. And if that 3-pack, if that snack pack, if that map comes up, then you should have a Google My Business listing. Like, search for whatever.
ASAP.
Yeah, the understandable ones are like hairstylists and, sort of marketing agency can be geolocated and all that kind of stuff. But Honda Canada, I'm not too worried about Honda Canada, the company, needing to have a Google My Business listing, because that's just their headquarters. They're about Honda General. It's about a big brand that spans across the whole. And there's some companies that are like that. Like one of our clients exports to the U.S., where they're manufacturing, where they're headquartered. That doesn't really matter.
Right.
So there's a lot of businesses that this doesn't matter for.
But just to go back to the Honda example for a second, the local Honda dealers would want to have a location.
100%. And in fact, that's where I think some of the low-hanging fruit is for some of the bigger companies, especially ones like insurance companies where they have branches all over and they have individual reps all over the country. They should have a Google My Business game plan from which to capitalize on that, because what will happen is the local sort of small businesses will say, well, I'll do it. And then the larger reps are going to be really stuck on getting the funnel of the larger brand to find them for the most part. There might be some Google My Business support in that. I've seen it, but they're not, they're vulnerable, because the channel that they're looking for is, maybe referrals that come in because of the, 1-800 numbers and the mass media stuff and all those types of things and the advertising, but they're not getting that local search. So I actually think everything where if you do the Google search and you come up with a local snack pack for your business, if you're a consultant, you should be like, I need to figure this out, so that you can get the advertising, to get the awareness that Google My Business gives you.
Agreed. Yeah.
So I think this is where I want to end with this. I just wanted to give you a really good encapsulation about what Google My Business is, why you need it, a little bit of takeaways as far as the name, address, phone number. We're going to really delve into this over the next month. So every single Monday, we're going to get more and more and more into this. We got some really awesome tools and techniques that I'm very excited for to get into. And we're going to do stuff for ourselves, right? We're going to do it kind of real-time-ish. Yeah. Before we sign off, if you have any questions on local SEO, if you have specifics that you're digging into with your business and you're not sure how to do this, by all means, ask us in the comments, reach out to us. You can reach out to us at the website kobayashi.ca, kobayashi.ca, and just fill out the form there. It'll get to us, and we'll answer it in future shows. All right? Okay. Cool. All right, let's go out.
Oh,
Here we go.
there it is.
There we go.
You've tuned in to COVID Marketing with Brent Kobayashi and Arthur Tutt, the show to support small business not just to survive, but to thrive.
That's it, that's it, that's it. Thank you so much for joining us on this fine Monday. That was COVID Marketing episode number 62. Tomorrow is probably going to be our best show effort, and I don't think I'm selling it quite as much as I need to be selling it.
Our best show ever.